Well, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Watch, and today we're going to be looking back at all the action from round 2 of the Six Nations, and joining me here on the farm is ex-Wales and British Lions winger Alex Cuthbert, who I must say is dressed for the occasion.
Yep, I had to. I saw Jamie last time, who was very inappropriately dressed for a farm. So, yeah, I thought I had to do that. Nigel, round 2, a lot of talking points, so let's get into it. So, Nigel, coming up, is the law regarding jumping to catch the ball fair? Henry Arundell's 20-minute red cards, history maker Hollie Davidson, all of that and more on this week's Whistle Watch. Right, Nigel, first game, Ireland versus Italy. We'll start off at the Aviva as the Irish hosted Italy in a nail-biter. First up, 7 minutes in, Dan Sheehan penalty for diving into contact. We've seen it before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, and then a ruling came out regarding it, actually. So what you're going to do is this. If you're diving in the act of scoring a try, so like you would do on the wing when you're going in and you go dive in the corner, that's fine. Now, what you can't do is dive to avoid being tackled. So you're not actually diving for the line, you're diving to avoid the tackle, and then you carry on then to get over the line. So that is not allowed, and also jumping over into a tackle would deem to be dangerous play as well, because remember as well, when you're diving, technically in law, the tackler is not allowed to tackle a guy in the air. But we allow that if you're in the act of diving to score a try. So quite rightly so, they chalk the try off here because what Dan Sheehan does, he jumps in to avoid the tackle rather than a natural action to diving to score a try.
Okay, is there any, I'm just going to ask a question as a winger, scoring a try in the corner, and I'm waiting for a defender to come across, and he's obviously going to tackle, and I'm going to dive over him, but towards the line. What difference is that? The
difference will be is, did you actually dive to avoid the tackle, or are you actually going, right, I'm now... So it's that natural action, I guess.
You're sort of doing both, aren't you?
So when you naturally got of, right, try line's there, I'm going for it, that's fine. Right. But if you're sort of jumping to avoid this guy, and then the getting to the line is another phase in that action, then that would be deemed to... I don't know... Johnny May did it in England against, that could have been against Italy actually, in Twickenham, I can't remember, where he sort of unnaturally jumped up, landed, and then went over. So that is not allowed.
Nigel, 31 minutes in, Craig Casey, yellow carded for head-on-head contact. The TMO refers Hollie Davidson to an incident which saw Craig Casey make head-on-head contact with Lorenzo Canone, who was obviously a lot bigger man, whilst assisting in a tackle. He was sent to the bunker, but stayed at a yellow. Correct decision.
Yeah, first of all, I think it is a correct decision. When I was watching this, I was chuckling. Probably the shortest man on the field, and he's managed to make a head contact with a big guy. So what they would look at here, you have the head contact, yes, you do. So the action is always upright, okay? So that's the first trigger for the referee. Now, if you're upright and make a tackle, you're not doing nothing illegal unless you make contact with the head or the neck. And in this instance, he does. But because it's a very low degree of danger, so it goes to the threshold of the yellow card for the bunker to have a look at it. And they deem then the actual contact and impact was very low degree of danger. And because of a low degree of danger, it then, quite rightly so, remained at the yellow card. Some may well have argued, a penalty would have been suffice.
Is it not? Is it a bit of a rugby collision as well?
Yeah,
because of the height.
And the height as well. So it is a penalty. Yeah. And a lot of people would have, some referees would have said, I'll stick with the penalty, but a yellow card is certainly not incorrect. It's certainly not more than that.
So we got a yellow card and a broken nose as well.
What a good day in the Aviva for him.
Last one, nice. 51 minutes in, Tommaso Minicello forward pass. What are your thoughts on that? Correct call?
So I would have liked Hollie to stick with that decision, to say, no, this is not clear and obvious for me from what I'm seeing on the screen. We're sticking with the on-field decision. What do you think, Al, as a winger?
For me, I'm scoring in that corner, and I think
you want to try to stand. Yeah, good point. And the reason why. So, just remember, how fast were you when you were running with the ball?
I'd say Minicello would have been running 20 to 25 Ks there, at least.
Okay, so when you're running at 25 Ks, and you are throwing a pass out to a guy who may be 10, 15, 20 metres away, that ball is travelling the same speed as you. So as long as that ball leaves your hands flat or backwards, it's not passed forward, whatever happens, that ball is going to land up further forward than where you passed it. Yeah. So in this instance here, when Marcelo is running with the ball does not leave his hands forward. That's the key. It leaves his hands fine, but obviously it's traveling the same speed as him. So when it goes to the other side, it is then a bit more forward than where it left his hands. So what you've got to be careful of is that you don't judge forward passes on the lines on the field, because they can really give you an incorrect outcome to the decision-making process. So in this instance here, the ball leaves his hands fine. Even if you're going to say, well, it's marginal, it certainly was not clear and obvious enough for the referee to overrule the on-field decision. But they went with the TMO because obviously he has better views of things. But yeah, the try should have stood.
That leads us on quite nicely about Hollie Davidson making history, becoming the first woman to referee the men's Six Nations match. And obviously the thoughts of Lamano, the Italian captain, coming out in a press conference.
Yeah, it's always nice when a player, a captain, comes out in a press conference and gives the referee credit that is due.
Today, one big thing for me that I always will emphasize. Obviously, the referee Hollie Davidson has been outstanding. It's the first time for her it's the first time ever as a women referee in the Six Nations, and I just want to congratulate her. You know, it's never enough how much she's been doing for the whole World Rugby and for our game. So I think that's a very important thing to say, and I appreciated the work we've done together today on the pitch. I think whatever decision was backing her and making sure that everything was going the right way. So I want to just congratulate her and say thanks for the effort on the field.
Yeah, that was really good of him, particularly because, as you said, the history being made, yeah. And again, a very well-deserved appointment as well. She's thoroughly deserved that opportunity. She's refereed well in the URC with us, European Cup as well, and she did a pretty good job in the autumn in the Wales-New Zealand game. She learned some things from that, but overall she did a pretty good job, and a very, very well-deserved appointment for her as well, and the first of many, I'm sure. Now, before we carry on, let's have a look at Matt Carley's 50th Test match.
I started refereeing when I was 16, persuaded by my grandfather to take what was at the time the entry-level exam, then persuaded to try and do a game on a Saturday afternoon. So this is when I was 16, so that's 25 years ago. Times have changed. That was a time where once you'd done the entry-level exam, you could just do an adult game regardless of your age. So 16-year-old, Maidstone 4th team and Aylesford 3rd team. Off you go. See what you're made of. I can still close my eyes and remember the pitch at Aylesford and some of the incidents in the game, but definitely a fast learning curve as a teenager, being in control of adult men. I had a deal with my granddad, because obviously I couldn't drive, that he would give me the fuel expenses, and my hope was to get a game far enough away from home that the 45p's totted up, so I had enough money to buy a few liquid refreshments when I got home with my friends on a Saturday evening. But no, to start with, it was just part of loving being involved in sport, something that I could do with my grandfather. We were like best friends whilst he was still around. Like he must have come to hundreds of games with me when I was younger and playing, when I played cricket, when I was refereeing, when I moved up to refereeing on the sort of national panel. Like, we'd drive the length and breadth of the country, and there was a certain tipping point, I'm not quite sure how it was, where I became the driver and he became the passenger, but we spent hours and hours on end together, so it brought us together and gave us a commonality. So I suppose that's probably my fondest thing that I remember from my journey, and it just kind of naturally evolved along with time. He came to Scotland with me to watch me referee Scotland versus Georgia, which I believe 2017, maybe 2016. And that was a really special game for me, just because he was there. Obviously, as he got a little bit older and a bit more frail, it was difficult for him to travel outside of the country. I think when I was appointed to the Six Nations for the first time, he did say he was going to get a passport and come and watch, but unfortunately he wasn't around long enough to see that. But yeah, he watched every game on the telly religiously if he wasn't in the stadium, and gave me as harsh a feedback as anyone else.
Right, Nigel, we got a question from a big fan of yours in Jamie Roberts.
You're going to love that.
Shemai Nige, sorry, I can't do this week's Whistle Watch out in the French Alps with the family. Anyway, hat-trick hero, Henry Arundell, last week at Twickenham against the Welsh. Obviously, disappointing result for the English. Scotland were magnificent at Murrayfield. Henry Arundell, 20-minute red card, 2 yellows. Did he deserve both the yellows? And why was it a 20-minute red card, not a permanent one?
Right, so I was watching this game, watching it live at home. And when that happened and he gave the penalty, I thought, ooh, that's a bit harsh. Because for me, I thought there was enough of a clear release. Now, we've got to remember here, in this type of action, the onus is on the player to show the referee that he's given clear release. It's not for the referee to go looking to see, has he given a clear release? The onus is on the player. You've got to show a clear release, okay? So if you look at it, to be fair to the referee, where the referee is coming from that angle, he doesn't see that clear release. So that triggers him now into a penalty. But obviously when we see the review and the camera angle from the other side, you can see that he actually did release. But to be fair to the referee, the view he's seeing, he's not seeing that angle. So we've got to remember that. Now, the difference here is this. If there's a line break or then there is a cynical action, that would trigger the referee from the penalty to the yellow card. Now, a couple of things here for me. One, I think the penalty is harsh in itself, but let's say it's 50-50, we'll go with the referee. It's not cynical. It's a technical penalty, so the action is not cynical. So for me then, that does not warrant the next step to the yellow card. And the other thing to take into account, you could say, well, if it's a penalty and there's a line break, why not a yellow card? But if you look at it, England are fully lined up defensively. So there's nothing much on for Scotland there really, because England are all plenty of numbers there. So then that's another thing to take into account. So on this occasion, you can follow the penalty because of where the referee is coming from. But for me, certainly not a yellow card. It doesn't need to go to the next level because it's not cynical and the actions of the England defence are all there. So, yeah, okay, PK, fair enough. Although personally, I would have played through, but a yellow card, not for me.
So when he refereed that, the breakdown, he's looking at the breakdown. He's not, I guess, looking at the England defence line, and he thinks speed of ball, Scotland are on the run.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Because you focus, things happen so quick. So your focus is there. You don't then have the time. With experience, you will, you'll see this, you'll have a glance. Okay, I can leave the yellow card in the pocket. That'll come with experience.
Would line judges be able to help that?
They can. Yeah, lines can come in
well?
and say, or the assistant referee can come in and say, Nicola, look, England were all lined up in defence. There was nothing else going to happen, just in case you need to know that, and then you can process that.
Right, Nigel, it leads us on to the 37th minute with Arendelle again. Takes out Kyle Steyn whilst competing for a high ball and is given his second yellow card, resulting in a 20-minute red card. Fair call?
Oh, well, fair call on the yellow card for this offence. Obviously, from what we discussed earlier, not a fair call in the whole picture because, as we said, the yellow card, first of all, shouldn't have been given. But on this instance, a yellow card, yeah. So if you look at it, and you know better than anybody, when you're going to chase that kick, you've got to go. You've got to get there. But when he's running, he's going flat out. And then obviously, by the time you realise this guy's in the air, it's too late. So the onus now is on the chaser to make sure that he's aware of what the catcher is going to do. And because the catcher's in the air and Arendelle is still on the ground, he's overrun it. He's gone too hard, really, and then he's not being able to do anything to avoid that, and then has caused then the action that happened next. So yellow card for that instance is fine. Although I do have empathy with the guy who's left on the ground, because you're running for that ball. If that guy now decides to jump before you, nothing much you can do, really. But I think here he could have done more to sort of avoid the contact, and then that would have probably left you maybe just a penalty.
Yeah, because I feel like you have to have a duty of care as a chaser for that.
More so than the guy who's defending you.
And with the rules now where you have that free run, I guess, you ignites that, competition, but you need to jump. I think that's probably the big thing. He didn't jump.
He didn't jump. No, he didn't jump. And then if you're not going to jump, you've got to be aware, if that guy jumps, he's got the advantage. I've got to do everything now to try and avoid taking him out in the air. And unfortunately, he didn't do that, hence a correct yellow card. In the past, a double yellow card would mean that's a red card, you're off for the rest of the game. But obviously what's happened since then, we've got the introduction of the 20-minute red card. So in this instance here, because it's it's a technical offence to start off with. This is the first yellow card, and then the other yellow card is not sort of that act of thuggery, which is a straight red, which would have been a full red for the rest of the game. What they do now is 2 yellow cards now will equate to a 20-minute red card rather than the full sort of, and I think that's quite fair actually, because sometimes you could have 2 yellow cards and you're a bit unlucky. So look, we just spoken about the Arendelle one, for example, where it's quite technical, and you know he's a bit unlucky. Well, probably shouldn't have had the yellow card. So I think that's a fair way to deal with it. I think 2 yellow cards, double yellow card, 20-minute red card.
Yeah, they're both technical penalties.
They are, exactly.
Right, we got an Emirates fan question from Ian Hodges. Is the law regarding jumping to catch the ball fair?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Yeah. I've been debating. I've got a bit of empathy here, because if you're running for the ball, and as I'm getting to you, you now decide to jump. If you're jumping with momentum and you're going to go into me, there's nothing I should do. So what I think the referees need, because we need to keep the game safe, okay? Yeah. So what I think you need to look at is this. If this guy jumps up and then I sort of stop and I don't follow through and he lands into me, then that's play on. Yeah. The fact that you've just jumped before me shouldn't matter. If, like the Arendelle one, for example, if you jump and I was in no position to avoid that because I didn't compete for the ball and I've just then, momentum has taken me into you, then that should be dealt with as foul play. So that, I think, would be the fair way to deal with that contact in the air.
I do think we are seeing a lot less of this with that new rule change, because we're seeing a lot of players actually compete together now. We don't see that very often.
Because you don't have that blocking anymore, you know, because you've got a clear line of sight as well now, which allows the contest and makes it safer as well.
Yeah, it's quite, they are quite, few and far between those sort of penalties. So I got another question here. What if jumping was completely banned in rugby?
You mean the lineup as well?
I don't know about the lineup, but just that kick compete would be
well,
very,
I don't know.
very
How do you think, you know, how would you think that would look from a spectacle and a player point of view? Because if you look at some of the sort of kicks and chase, you know, the kicks, the guy going up for the up and under, catching the ball and then going on to, it's a wonderful part of the game, isn't it? So I'm not quite sure if outlawing that, would it benefit the game? And as you just mentioned, it really isn't a problem now, is it really? You know, we're not having these tackles in the air, and it's not an issue in the game, really, I don't think. What do you think?
No, I think what it would stop would be transition attacks. So what we saw on the weekend with France against Wales, you know, when a person taps up in the air, that ball on the floor, and then the teams look to attack, you'd see a lot more set-up box kicks. I think you'd slow the game down an awful lot more, I think, as well. But obviously we could add to that, only allowing the defending team to jump to contest a kick, which for me just seems a bit like rugby league, the way they sort of do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it would. And then I suppose the only challenge I'd come back to you on that is, if it's only the defenders allowed to jump, would it mean 2 things? One, would it mean that the kicking team is going to be actually better at kicking? Like the French were much better than us on Saturday, and chasing it. And also as well, would it make the team think twice about kicking? So would you actually see less kicking in the game?
Would you see more play? Yeah.
But then again, would the type of play that we see, would it be sort of, you know, a lot of sort of contact pick and goes and not enough space? When the kick is up, the ball spills, there's open space, isn't there? Because otherwise the defence is going to be there. So, yeah, certainly something to have a discussion about, but I don't think it's broken the way it is, to be honest.
Right, last game, Wales versus France, and what a game it was. France keep their momentum with an 8-try win over a struggling Wales. 40th minute, the Caterpillar ruck. Wales received the second half kick-off from the ruck. 3 more players joined to give Thomas Williams a better angle and less room for a charge down. Under the new Super Rugby trail laws, after the referee has said use it, no more players can be added to the ruck. Do you think this would benefit the game?
I think it will. I'm not a big fan of these long rucks and slow ball. And to be fair to the referees now, they're actually doing it now, whereas in the past, they didn't do it, where once that ball is available, the referee should call use it. If it means you're eating into your 5 seconds then to get it to the back of that ruck, then you're eating into that 5 seconds. Whereas in the past, referees were allowing them to get the ball back, then calling the 5 seconds. So at least now, they're calling it when it's available. Now, the new Super Rugby trial, as you said, means that once that ball is available and the referee says use it, nobody can join now. So I think that's a good thing. I think that will help keep this process, sped up, I think. And the problem with box kicks, you're having another kicking contest in the game, and back and forward, and then you have the charge downs and players blocking. So less of these caterpillar rucks, I think, would be good for the game, and I think this is just another armour maybe to at least, if it doesn't reduce them, it'll make it quicker,
When the 9 has been told to use it, how long has he actually got?
That's 5 seconds from the use it. So
Not from when it's set up?
Not from when it's set up from the back, no. That was happening in the past. They were saying use it after the ball had come to the back. But once that ball is available, so once there's a tackle or once there's a ruck, that ball is available to be used, the referee says use it. It's 5 seconds from there. So if you take 5 seconds to get it back, bang, it's got to go straight away. Now, common sense applies here. You probably, if you were to sit down and time these, you may see some of them going 5, 6 seconds, it's fine. But once it hits the 7, 8, 9, bang, we should come, scrum, turnover ball.
Right, okay. I think chatting to a lot of the teams that are doing this caterpillar, so what they want the length, so 9s now can kick further and higher. So,
and under less pressure as well.
Because the winger, whoever's chasing, has no traffic to go through, they can get further. So you're able to do a kick to compete longer. I think that's one of the biggest rules of that's why you're seeing a lot of this caterpillar rucks. But I agree, I think there should never be any more players after that. I think speed up the game, isn't it?
And that's it for this week's Whistle Watch. We'll be back next week, so don't forget to send in your Emirates fans questions. See you then. Bye-bye.